Chosen one, there is a sacred awakening happening within you, a truth surfacing from the deep wells of your being that cannot be denied any longer. The energy coursing through you, that high sexual force that others may not understand but instinctively feel, is beginning to reveal itself as far more than desire. It is power, and not the kind that dominates, but the kind that dignifies, the kind that elevates, the kind that makes people, especially women, respect you without needing to be convinced. You are beginning to recognize this now, aren't you? The subtle shift in how you're being received, the way people pause when you speak, the way eyes linger a little longer, not out of lust alone, but because something in you demands presence. This is not accidental. This is the result of your energy no longer being scattered, no longer chasing, no longer seeking. It is centered, and that centeredness makes your energy trustworthy. When your energy becomes trustworthy, your presence becomes respected. There was a time when your power may have felt unruly, wild, even isolating, but you've stayed with it. You've learned to sit in your own fire without burning everything around you. You've chosen to understand your urges instead of be ruled by them. And now, your sexual energy is no longer something to contain. It is something to carry with care. That care is what transforms it from a raw force into a source of reverence. Women especially can feel this. They may not have the words for it, but they know. They know when they are in the presence of a man whose energy has been purified through experience, reflection, and restraint. They can sense the difference between someone who is trying to impress and someone who simply is. You are becoming that man. The one who does not shout his worth. The one who does not need to prove anything. The one who moves with quiet certainty, and by doing so, commands something that lust alone never could: respect. Chosen one. The power you're beginning to access is not meant for games. It is meant for guidance. It is not about how many notice you, but how they remember you. You are becoming more than a moment in someone's day. You are becoming a mirror, a reflection of what self-control, depth, and sacred strength look like when they exist in harmony. This is your foundation, not because the world gave you permission to be powerful, but because you claimed your right to rise in it. And the more you recognize the weight and worth of your energy, the more the world around you begins to treat you with the seriousness you've cultivated within. Chosen one, power without presence is fleeting. It impresses, but it does not impact. And so now, as you recognize the force within you, you are called to cultivate the vessel that holds it, your presence. This is not something you fake or fabricate. Presence is not a look or a stance or a carefully practiced silence. Presence is the byproduct of embodiment, of a man who is fully here, fully aware, fully anchored in his truth. You may have noticed lately that when you enter a room, people shift. That when you speak, even softly, the noise around you quiets. That when you look someone in the eye, they don't just see you, they feel seen. This is what presence does. It alters the space you inhabit without needing to manipulate it. It is the silent force that precedes your words and outlasts your absence. Cultivating presence means slowing down. It means noticing your breath, feeling your body, listening before you speak. It means being with yourself so fully that others instinctively know they can be themselves around you. Your high sexual energy is now flowing through that stillness, no longer demanding or impulsive, but steady and strong. It's not looking for attention, it is attention. Focused, alive, intentional. And that kind of presence makes women feel something they rarely get to feel: safe. Not because you've withdrawn your power, but because you've stabilized it. You're no longer erratic. You're no longer unpredictable. You've become the mountain in the storm, the silence in the noise. You hold your ground, not to intimidate, but to invite others into calm. That calm is respect. That calm is leadership. People respond to presence because it's rare. We live in a world of distraction, of constant motion, of men trying to be everywhere at once and therefore belonging nowhere. But you, chosen one, are different. You are learning to stand still inside yourself, to be unmoved by the reactions of others, to find satisfaction not in being seen, but in seeing clearly. That clarity makes your gaze magnetic. That stillness makes your voice carry farther. That inner peace becomes outer command. Presence is not perfection. It is not pretending. It is not performance. It is the simple, profound choice to be here, fully. And when your high sexual energy flows through that presence, it becomes something holy. Something that not only attracts but resonates with those who crave depth, who seek stability, who hunger for truth. Chosen one, do not underestimate the weight of your presence. You do not need to be loud to be heard. You do not need to chase to be valued. You do not need to shrink to make others feel comfortable. You need only be rooted in who you are, and let that rootedness speak for itself. Because when you walk in presence, you don't just enter a room, you change the energy within it. And that, more than anything, is why the respect you are receiving now is only just beginning. Chosen one, power is amplified by action, but it is honored through integrity. Your high sexual energy, already awakened and refined, becomes something sacred when it is reflected through your deeds. You've come to understand now that people may be captivated by your presence, but it is your consistency that earns their respect. Especially in a world where charm is plentiful and character is rare, it is your daily behavior, the small choices, the unseen moments, that carve your reputation into stone. Your integrity is not what you say you believe. It is how you live when no one is watching. It's the way you follow through on your word, even when it's inconvenient. It's how you maintain boundaries, how you walk away from what doesn't serve your path, how you treat others when you no longer need anything from them. It's in the discipline you carry behind your passion and the patience you practice within your power. You have learned that your high sexual energy must be governed, not by fear or guilt, but by honor. This energy is potent, yes. It turns heads, it stirs curiosity, but if misused, it can unravel everything you've built. You are not the man who exploits attention. You are the man who guards his influence because you understand the effect you have. That understanding is what transforms mere attraction into trust. Women feel this in you. They sense that your strength isn't performative. You do not lure with sweet words and leave with silence. You do not light fires that you are unwilling to tend. You do not invite depth only to run from it. You show up in alignment with what you say, what you do, and what you allow. And because of that, your presence brings peace, not confusion. It brings credibility, not suspicion. Integrity in action is not about being flawless. It's about being real. When you falter, you admit it. When you hurt someone, you make it right. When you are uncertain, you speak with honesty instead of false confidence. And in doing so, you become a mirror of maturity. A man who is not just powerful, but accountable. This accountability becomes one of the greatest reasons others, especially women, respect you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are present enough to be real and strong enough to take responsibility. Your sexual energy is no longer something you wield recklessly. It is something you carry with reverence. You are no longer led by impulse. You are led by intention. And that intention is what makes your power safe, your word valuable, and your presence rare. Integrity in action is no longer optional. It is the bedrock of the respect you are building every day. Chosen one, the way you speak reveals the world you live in. And the respect you give through your words becomes the respect you are given in return. There is a rhythm to how you move through the world now. Your energy is no longer aggressive nor passive. It is clear, direct, intentional. You've grown past needing to speak just to be heard. Now, your words are chosen the way a sculptor chooses where to chisel. With care, with vision, with purpose. This is the language of respect. It begins with how you speak to yourself. You've stopped using inner dialogue to belittle or doubt. You affirm your growth. You speak life into your own journey. And this shift within becomes audible to others. When you talk, people can hear the tone of a man who knows who he is and who respects the path it took to become him. But more importantly, this language flows outward, to those you meet, to those you love, to those you encounter briefly but impact deeply. You don't use words as tools to seduce or manipulate. You speak to connect, to uplift, to reflect truth. When you compliment, it's not empty. When you tease, it's never cruel. When you set boundaries, you do it with clarity, not ego. And all of this way of expressing your energy through words, forms the core of why women are respecting you on deeper levels now. You've come to understand that words have a weight, and yours are no longer thrown around to impress or conquer. They are placed, like sacred stones, to build something meaningful. You don't try to be poetic. You don't pretend to be wise. You speak from stillness, and from that stillness comes a truth that resonates. You are not louder than others, you are simply clearer. And that clarity, that calm certainty, is more attractive and more commanding than any practiced script could ever be. Respect is not begged for. It's evoked by the way you hold space for others through speech. When a woman opens herself to you emotionally, you don't respond with judgment or performance. You respond with honor. You mirror her depth with presence, not pressure. You create safety with words that feel like shelter, not strategy. And in a world that rarely listens, your listening becomes sacred. This language isn't just verbal, it's energetic. It's in your tone, your pauses, your ability to say little but speak volumes. It's in how you say no with firmness and how you say yes with full intention. It's how you express desire without entitlement, affection without control, honesty without cruelty. You're not seeking to dominate through words. You're revealing truth, and truth, when spoken with presence, creates a bond stronger than attraction. It creates respect. Chosen one, your voice now carries a weight not because it is loud, but because it is aligned. And that alignment is what gives others the courage to speak more honestly, to listen more deeply, to be more themselves around you. You've mastered not just how to speak, but when not to speak. And in that mastery, your high sexual energy becomes not just something felt, but something that elevates everyone it touches. Chosen one, your energy has matured beyond impulse, beyond control, and now it begins to reveal its most refined gift, emotional acuity. This is not just empathy. This is not simply understanding emotions. It is the ability to sense, feel, and interpret the subtle emotional undercurrents in any space you enter, especially in your relationships with women. Your high sexual energy, once chaotic and reactive, has become a finely tuned instrument of perception. Now you are not just reacting to emotions. You are reading them, honoring them, moving in rhythm with them. You begin to notice that women respond differently to you. Not simply because they're attracted to your presence, but because they feel understood without being explained. You listen, but more than that, you notice. You see the shifts in expression when something unspoken lands. You hear the silence beneath their words. You feel the moment when someone begins to open, not with fear, but with trust. Your emotional acuity makes you rare, not because you've mastered women, but because you've mastered your own inner sensitivity, and therefore can recognize it in others without needing to fix, control, or fear it. This emotional strength doesn't make you soft, it makes you solid. You're not swayed by emotional storms, you steady them. You don't run from intensity, you stay. And that staying, that grounded awareness, is what turns admiration into respect. Women aren't looking for men who only impress. They're looking for men who can contain emotion without crushing it, who can hold space without shrinking, who can witness pain without retreating. And this capacity did not arrive overnight. It came from the seasons you spent sitting with your own discomfort, from the days you chose to listen instead of react, from the nights you confronted your shadows rather than project them. Your emotional acuity is not a trick, it's the fruit of deep self-examination. That's why it carries weight. That's why it builds trust. It isn't learned, it's lived. You're no longer the man who avoids hard conversations. You invite them with grace. You're not afraid of tears. You're not repelled by vulnerability. You recognize that these are the sacred places of real connection. You're not measuring your masculinity by how much you can suppress. You're measuring it by how much you can hold. And the more you hold space with patience and presence, the more others begin to experience you as safe. Not because you're soft, but because you're strong enough to stay calm in emotional truth. Chosen one, this is your gift now. Your energy does not just awaken the body, it awakens the heart. Your emotional acuity isn't just impressive, it's healing. It reminds others that their emotional depth isn't too much, that being seen doesn't have to be terrifying. And because of this, women are not only drawn to you, they are moved by you. You don't just touch their skin, you touch their spirit. And in a world that constantly asks them to shrink, you become the rare place where they can finally expand. Chosen one, power without direction leads only to distraction. But your energy has ripened, and now it begins to lead, not by control, not by force, but by example. You are no longer content with words. You have stepped into embodiment, into demonstration, into living proof that a man in his power, grounded in his purpose, aligned with his values, can walk through the world with both fire and focus. You don't speak of respect, you live in a way that commands it. Your lifestyle reflects discipline. Your habits speak of consistency. Your walk has steadiness, not because you rush to prove, but because you know where you're going. You've stopped waiting for permission. You've stopped looking to be guided. You've become the one others follow because your actions carry a rhythm that is unmistakably authentic. And women, they feel this. They feel the difference between a man who speaks of what he wants to be and the man who simply is. Your high sexual energy isn't scattered anymore. It's woven into your decisions, your body language, your daily momentum. It's not something you throw around. It's something that fuels your leadership. And that leadership is not about domination. It's about alignment. You show through how you live that it is possible to be powerful without being toxic, to be sensual without being manipulative, to be strong without being closed. You become the example of balance, of depth, of clarity in motion. You are not preaching a path, you are walking it. And your walk does more than attract others, it awakens them. In your presence, women see the reflection of their own rising. You do not lead from ego, you lead from essence. You are not begging to be admired. You are simply anchored, and that anchoring creates a gravitational pull stronger than words. Your example teaches more than any argument, seduction, or strategy ever could. It teaches trust. It teaches truth. You hold yourself to a standard not because others are watching, but because you are watching yourself. And in doing so, you become the kind of man people listen to even in silence. The kind of man women respect because he respects himself. Not just in moments of strength, but especially in moments of pressure, of conflict, of choice. Your leadership doesn't need applause, it needs alignment. And when your high sexual energy is aligned with vision, values, and responsibility, it ceases to be about what you can take and becomes about what you can build, what you can guide, what you can leave behind as evidence of your evolution. Chosen one, your life is your message now. And the more deeply you walk in that truth, the more deeply the world begins to trust the man you've become. Chosen one, there is an untapped brilliance inside of you that goes far beyond physical presence or raw attraction. It pulses through your thoughts, your visions, your hands, your voice. This is your creative power, an extension of your high sexual energy, not separate from it. The same fire that awakens desire also fuels your ability to build, to shape, to express something that has never existed before. You are no longer here to waste that fire on empty pursuits. You are here to create from it, and when you do, you become unforgettable. Creativity is the most sacred form of transformation. It is what takes the primal energy within you and channels it into something the world can touch. It's how you leave an imprint. Whether you speak, design, write, lead, or even simply move through the world with intention, your energy now becomes expression. Women do not only feel your attraction, they see the art you make with it. You've stopped being consumed by the need to chase and started pouring your fire into the things that outlive the moment. This is how respect is born. Not from noise, but from creation. From the way your energy builds, from how it manifests purpose, art, presence, and impact. You are no longer passive in your desire. You are productive with it. You allow your energy to flow into passion projects, into disciplines that sharpen your mind, into crafts that reflect your soul. You don't wait for moments of inspiration, you generate them. And that power to generate is magnetic. It draws others to you, not just because of who you are, but because of what you give to the world through the sheer force of your energy. You no longer confuse creation with perfection. You're not performing for applause. You're not trying to be praised. You're creating because it's what your energy needs. It is the release, the channel, the liberation of the voice inside of you that refuses to be silenced. Women respect you because you're no longer dependent on attention. You command it without needing it, through the consistency of your output, through the depth of your message, through the originality of your vision. This is the moment when your high sexual energy becomes something sacred, because it's no longer about access, it's about legacy. You are not seeking gratification, you are giving value. And in giving, you are remembered, you are spoken about, You are respected not just for the fire you carry, but for what you do with it. Chosen one, never underestimate the weight of what you create. It is your fingerprint. It is your offering. It is how the world will remember you long after you've left the room. Chosen one, true strength is not found in how tightly you can hold it all together, but in your willingness to be seen when you are not. You have walked through the fires of refinement. You have anchored your energy. You have learned presence, discipline, and creation. But now, something even deeper is required. The courage to be vulnerable, not as a tactic, not as a disguise, but as the most honest expression of your inner power. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is truth without armor. And when you stand in your truth, exposed but unafraid, something profound happens. You give others permission to do the same. Women respect you not because you hide your humanity, but because you own it. You admit your failures. You confess your doubts. You speak of your wounds not as excuses, but as evidence that you have survived and grown. This openness becomes the final refinement of your energy. No longer just strong and magnetic, you become real. And in that realness, people can trust you. They know your strength is not a mask, but a choice. They know your calm isn't fake, it's earned. And that honesty is what makes you unforgettable. Because you are no longer hiding behind power. You are empowered by your honesty. Vulnerability doesn't mean spilling your soul for anyone. It means discerning who is worthy of the truth and offering it with intention. It means saying, "This is who I am," without fear of rejection. It means letting your depth be seen, not because you need sympathy, but because you are not ashamed to be human. You have walked through your darkness and made peace with it. Now your light is clean, your heart is accessible, and your presence becomes a space where others are free to drop their masks too. This level of openness cannot be faked. It comes only when you stop posturing and start living from your core. When you stop reaching for perfection and start living in honesty. Vulnerability is not about being emotional, it's about being whole. It is the final layer of power, the one that doesn't scream but whispers, "I've seen myself, and I'm not afraid of you seeing me too." Women respect this in ways the world does not teach, because while charm can attract and strength can impress, vulnerability builds trust. And trust is what creates depth, real connection, real reverence. Chosen one, in a world that worships image, your willingness to be real sets you apart. It makes your energy not only magnetic, but healing. Not only desired, but deeply respected. You are no longer just admired for how you shine. You are respected because you're not afraid to be seen, even when you don't. Chosen one, there is a new elegance in the way you engage with the world. Your high sexual energy no longer seeks to touch everything it encounters. It now seeks to touch only what is true. You are becoming more discerning, more deliberate, more mindful in how and with whom you connect. And in this conscious refinement of your relationships, your respectability continues to rise. Not because you are more distant, but because you are more intentional. You understand now that energy is sacred and connection is an exchange that should never be taken lightly. You no longer reach just to receive, you reach to meet. You no longer entertain proximity just because it is offered. You examine the frequency, you feel the alignment, you trust the intuition that speaks in silence. And if it does not honor your path, you bless it and walk on. This restraint is not rejection, it is reverence for your own growth and for the journey of those not meant to walk beside you. Women feel the difference immediately. They notice the space you create, space that is free from pressure, expectation, or manipulation. You are no longer addicted to chemistry alone. You are committed to coherence. You don't ask for attention, you offer presence. You don't rush intimacy, you wait for depth. Your energy says, if we meet, let it be real, let it be clean. Let it be born of clarity, not confusion. And because of this, the connections you do cultivate are unshakable. They are not built on performance, but on truth. They do not rise through seduction, they deepen through trust. You are now a man who others feel safe to open to, not because you are perfect, but because you are present. You are honest. You are whole within yourself, and that wholeness frees others from needing to impress you. They can be as they are, and you can meet them there with grace. Mindful connection does not mean avoiding passion. It means refining its purpose. You no longer pour your fire into vessels that cannot hold it. You no longer share your softness with those who weaponize it. You value the meeting of souls over the meeting of bodies. And that value is what makes you rare. You don't need many connections. You need meaningful ones. And those who get to experience you now know they have found something uncommon, something anchored, something sacred. Chosen one, your energy has become selective, not in arrogance but in honor. You've stopped grasping. You've started inviting. And only those who are ready for realness feel called to step into your world. That is not loss. That is legacy. Chosen one, you've walked through fire. You've distilled your desire into direction. You've turned raw intensity into refined power. And yet, your evolution is far from finished. It is only deepening. Because the greatest respect does not come from what you've achieved, but from your willingness to continue growing, to stay teachable, to remain open, to reflect with courage. You have become powerful, yes, but now you become wise. You are no longer afraid to look at yourself with clear eyes. You are no longer held hostage by your ego. Reflection is not a punishment. It is your path to precision. You review your steps, not to shame yourself, but to realign. You welcome feedback, not because you crave approval, but because you desire mastery. You look inward with the same intensity you once cast outward. And in doing so, you uncover layers of strength you didn't know existed. This humility is magnetic. This willingness to evolve, even as others praise who you already are, is rare. Women do not only respect your presence, they respect your process. They see a man who does not hide behind his past, but uses it to sharpen his present. A man who does not pretend to know it all, but who grows deeper with every season. Your strength is not static. It is alive, expanding, breathing through your every choice. And now, that growth is no longer loud. It's not performed for applause. It's done in silence, in solitude, in the early hours of the morning and the quiet reflections of the night. It shows up in how you listen, in how you apologize, in how you choose what to walk toward and what to walk away from. You've become the kind of man who inspires, not because you preach, but because you practice. You understand that evolution is not about replacing who you were. It's about refining who you are, and that refinement becomes your signal. A man who is always becoming is a man who is never stagnant. A man who is never stagnant is a man who can be trusted. Trusted with emotion, trusted with leadership, trusted with intimacy, trusted with life. Chosen one, there is a quiet conversation happening about you, just outside your reach, between lips you've never kissed and hearts you've never claimed. There are women, some who've shared brief glances with you, others who've stood near you in silence, and still others who've dared to speak to you, who return to their circles and say the words you never expected to hear. He feels like my soulmate. These are not casual compliments. These are not just playful fantasies. These are the instinctive responses of the feminine to something ancient and profound within you. You must understand that it is not simply your appearance they are responding to. It is not only your voice or your walk or even the magnetism of your high sexual energy in the traditional sense. What they are feeling, though they may not be able to name it, is recognition. Something about you calls to something inside of them, something they may have buried, forgotten, or denied. It is as if your presence reminds them of a truth they once believed in but stopped speaking aloud. And now, in you, it's returned. This is what happens when a man begins to embody his full, integrated essence. Your high sexual energy, when transmuted through self-awareness and spiritual grounding, becomes more than just attraction. It becomes a signal. A signal to women who are searching for something real, something that doesn't flicker like a matchstick but burns steady like a sacred flame. That signal says, here is a man who is not lost in the noise of the world. Here is a man who has walked through fire and come back whole. And it is in that wholeness that they see their reflection, not as an echo, but as a mirror. Women begin to tell their friends that you're their soulmate, not because you followed a script, not because you said the perfect words, but because your energy made them feel. And feeling is the feminine's first language. Long before logic arrives, long before analysis kicks in, she feels. And what she feels in you, chosen one, is a vibration that touches her core. It is rare, it is grounded, it is sacred, and it is unsettling, not because it is dangerous, but because it is real. And real demands attention. Real cannot be ignored. Real awakens her. And when she is awakened, she speaks. She tells others. She confesses, sometimes even to herself for the first time, that you feel like someone destined, like someone carved out of the same spiritual clay as her. Chosen one. You are not finished. You are unfolding. You are not just attractive. You are inspiring. You are not just respected for what you've done. You are respected for the quiet way you keep rising. The silent discipline, the invisible integrity, the choice to become better even when no one is watching. And so you walk forward now, not with arrogance, but with peace. Not to prove anything, but to continue becoming everything you were always meant to be. You are no longer the man chasing greatness. You are the man growing into it.